Scientists claim Rh negative blood type people may not be from Earth. So are there those among us with a blood type that's totally different from the rest of mankind? Who are the mystery people? Okay, so last time we talked about the mixed race of Esau Edom. Esau's descendants were troglodytes, and they had a lot in common with the Neanderthals. We also talked about the symbolism associated with the Edomites. Esau means hairy. His mother had to use the hair of goat skins to cover the hands and neck of Jacob when she convinced him to pretend to be his brother Esau. You can see that the goat's hair is long and stringy, unlike the sheep that has woolly hair. Also, the name Esau means red. He sold his birthright for red porridge. He also moved to a land associated with the color red. A lot of symbolism, as you can see. So then Esau mixed his seed with the Horites, a very mysterious people. Today, I want to share some information on another group of people just as mysterious. Scientists know little about these people or their prehistory. If you remember, in our last session, the same thing was said about the Horites. So be sure and go back and listen to that session if you have not done so. It's called Esau Edomites Today. All right, let's keep going.
Of course, the first blood group to appear was O, and even till today, O constitutes the vast majority of people. Then many millennia later, A, and then after that, B, and then the last blood group to appear, AB, only 2,000 years ago.
Let's read this verse of scripture. This is coming from Acts 17:26. And he, meaning God, has made from one blood every nation of men to dwell on all the face of the earth, and has determined their pre-appointed times and the boundaries of their dwellings, so that they should seek the Lord in the hope that they might grope for him and find him, though he is not far from each one of us. So you just heard the doctor say that the original blood type was O. But this verse of scripture says that God made every nation of man from one blood. If O was the original blood type, we've obviously had some mutations, because now we have 4 main blood groups, A, B, AB, and O, of which group O is the most common. But interestingly, there is another blood group in the earth, and scientists can't explain how it got here. So what is this blood type? Let's read this from Carter Blood Care. It says, in 1937, Carl Landsteiner and Alexander Wiener discovered a new blood type, the rhesus blood type, or Rh factor. The rhesus protein is named for the rhesus monkey, which also carries the gene and is a protein that lives on the surface of the red blood cells. This protein is also often called the D antigen. When it comes to blood transfusion, anyone who is Rh positive can receive blood from someone who is Rh negative, but those with negative blood types cannot receive from anyone with a positive blood type. So I'll share this information from Ancient Origins. It says Rh negative blood lineages. It says one population which contains an unusually high frequency of the gene for the Rh negative blood type are the Basque from northeastern Spain. The Basque have the highest incidence of the gene out of any population in the world. The Basque also speak a non-Indo-European language and have genetic markers that predate the rise of agriculture. This has led to speculation that Rh-negative blood is related to Cro-Magnon ancestry going back to the Upper Paleolithic period in Europe. As a result, it could be that some populations contain a higher occurrence rate of the gene not because of a unique lineage, but because they are adapted to a region with a high prevalence of certain parasites, such as toxoplasma. This would explain why the gene occurs in high frequency in populations that are not really connected other than the fact that they are Homo sapiens, such as Basque and certain Jewish populations. All right, so this article is asking a question here. Is there a Basque Rh-negative connection? And I'll let you read the rest of that. I'm sure you know why I'm not reading it. And the answer is yes. And it's very hard to get the information on this right here. So we'll keep going. You can also reference this article right here. And it is showing that, yes, they do have footprints in Basque country. This is from December of 2019. All right, so I'll just share some information with you from ScholarWorks. This is from the University of Nevada, Reno. And it says, this book outlines the evolution of Basque society during the modern period. It traces the interrelated histories of the Basque country, France, Spain, and Europe, following significant themes such as industrialization, migration, and political violence. So I'll share some excerpts from this with you. Okay, this is where you want to start taking some notes. It says, by the turn of the 15th century, the Basque country's long history of iron production had endowed it with a renown throughout Europe for the manufacture of arms, agricultural implements, and shipbuilding materials, such as anchors and chains. Let's keep going. So I found this part to be very interesting. Apparently, all Basque people are considered to be nobility, and the conferring of this noble status meant that they were guaranteed property and land rights. So it says, there emerged after the Moors retreated from the Iberian Peninsula this idea of Basques being considered noble, and they perceived that they were racially pure because they had not been assimilated by the Moors. So where have we heard that before? Racial purity? Keep that in mind. Let's keep going. All right, this information comes from encyclopedia.com. It's talking about some of the traditions, customs, and beliefs of the Basque people. It says the Basque identity is based on a deeply held sense of the Basques' distinctness from other cultures. Their language, for example, includes many negative terms for non-Basque. Though Basque accepted Christianity, they maintain belief in some supernatural creatures, including Tartaro, a one-eyed giant who is usually outwitted by human beings. Basque also tells stories of the Bassa Juan and his wife, Bassa Andre, wild forest creatures who are sometimes depicted as mischievous beings, but who at other times are described as an orc and a witch. Basque fairies are called Lamniac, And like fairies in Celtic legend, they supposedly live underground. Basque folk tales often mention witches, sorcerers, magicians, and the Black Sabbath. So their holidays, the biggest holiday among the Basque is the feast of their patron saint, Ignatius of Loyola. He was the founder of the Jesuit order. And it's celebrated on the last weekend in July and includes a mass and picnic, music, dancing, and sport contests. Basque Americans in different states also organize specific festivals throughout the year. So we'll continue to read more about these people. So I'm going to share some things from this article here. It's talking about the symbols associated with the Basque, and you can see this gate and the symbols that are painted here. And they're saying these are the original entrance gates to Hacienda San Francisco, and it's saying it's been repaired and painted, but still these are the original symbols. So let's find out more about this. All right, it says the mysterious Basque, and you can see the symbol in the upper right corner. It says, in part 1 of this series, we set about the task of determining the origin of the ancient symbols, which we have found scattered across the Yucatan Peninsula, and which we now know is called Basque Labaru. We determined that this would require a more thorough knowledge and better understanding of the Basque people and their history. Many anthropologists and archaeologists have suggested that the Basque are older than all other European cultures. The Basque themselves have a saying that illustrates that opinion. They say, before God was God and boulders were boulders, Basque were Basque. Yet, the Basque are not well known. It says a majority of Basque refer to the region as, and I'm probably going to mess this one up, but Euskal Herria in their official language. Euskara is considered the oldest and most complicated language in Europe and is not related to any other European language. In fact, the language helped contribute to the isolation of the Basque because so few people knew or understood it. I'm going to drop down. It says, some researchers have suggested that the Basque are ancestors of Cro-Magnon. Cro-Magnon man, you can see this picture here on the lower portion. It says they were the Cro-Magnon man who may have occupied the area up to 40,000 years ago. So the picture on the top, what does that remind you of? What does it look like to you? We'll keep going. All right, so here it talks about the DNA discoveries. It says a small population isolated for a long period of time may have led to a certain amount of inbreeding. Basque seldom married outside their homeland. This had a very significant effect on blood type, which is a defining characteristic for Basque. More than 50% of Basque have type O blood, the highest concentration of type O in the world. So if you remember the statement from the doctor, he said O was the oldest blood group. But it says Basque also have the highest incidence of Rh negative factor blood in the world. Let's keep going. This is going to get interesting, you all. All right, it says Basque and Christopher Columbus. It says it's impossible to overestimate the link between Basque shipbuilding and sailing in the conquest of the Americas. These activities position the Basque for a dominating role in the discovery and development of New World colonies. Are your wheels turning yet? It says it begins with the journey of Christopher Columbus in 1492. All right, it says the Santa Maria was built in a Basque shipyard and owned by Juan de la Cosa, a Basque. In addition, 9 Basque sailors were aboard the Santa Maria. 6 sailed on the Nina, and 2 were part of the crew on the Pinta. It says, Basque leave their mark. It says, other than Spaniards, more Basque immigrated to the Yucatan Peninsula during the remarkable era of the first 200 years of colonization than any other group, with the exception of immigrants from the Canary Islands. They were dominant in commercial business, import-export trade, the military, the church. How can you be dominant in the church? And cattle ranching. Okay, let's keep going. All right, the article goes on to talk about the ancient symbols in the New World. It says Basque leave their mark. It says it was these early Basque immigrants who adorned their door lintels and hacienda gateposts with their beloved labarus. So you see the top picture with that symbol again that looks like a swastika. But take note of the color, red as well. The red and white, very prominent colors for the Basque people. All right, it also goes on to say, many of these symbols can be attributed to the first wave of Basque immigrants or later arrivals in the 18th and the 19th century. It's supposed to be symbols representing pride and unity. Let's keep going. As I said, that symbol, the labarus, look like a swastika to me. You can see one here on the side of this plane. And this article from the BBC News says how the world loved the swastika until Hitler stole it. All right, you see it here again. This is from the museum's Grecian collection. It says the swastika is visible in the architectural ornament which has come to be known as the Greek key pattern, widely used on tiles and textiles to this day. It says the ancient Greeks also used single swastika motifs to decorate their pots and vases. One fragment in the collection from around the 17th century BCE shows a swastika with limbs like unfurling tendrils painted under the belly of a goat. Keep that in mind as well. We'll keep going. Let's dig a little deeper and find out a bit more about these people, the mystery people. This book was written in 1921 and is called The Basque Country. So I'll share some excerpts from this. All right, just a bit about this. It says the origin and history. It says popular legend, which arises ever in answer to a people's questioning, recounts that a great serpent sleeps under the range of the Pyrenees, and that this creature, stirring in its dream of ages, raised the long chain of mountains above its moving length, while from its 7 jaws gushed forth a fiery flood. Of this fire was the Basque country born, primeval as the source which gave it birth, and to this day it holds something elemental, a scarce veiled pagan spirit which has survived Christianizing and the centuries. Its forests are still peopled with mythical creatures. In the caves of Belsola in the Biscay they dwell. The book goes on to say that in the Bidart churchyard, many of the discoid stones bear a large, roughly cut Maltese cross, and that's the picture you see here. Interesting enough as recalling the fact that the commandery of Malta held jurisdiction here. But in other graveyards you will find other designs upon these stones which, puzzling you at first, will, as you spell their meaning, lead you on long roads back through and beyond the Middle Ages, by dead civilizations like Egypt, Assyria, Chaldea, to the rites of our earliest pagan forebears. Such a symbol is this zigzag, the lightning, cut across the stone disc which you will find in the cemetery. And it says at Itsutsu. I'm believing that's that word. Okay. It says, here too is the sacred swastika of India, the Tamiyu of Japan, and everywhere you find the sun, symbol of regeneration, immortality, and eternity in endless combination. All right, it goes on to talk about the things that you find in this graveyard. It says, carved with the serpent, the tree, the pyramid, or other primitive mythical design. It says, the crosses which spring up everywhere among the climbing roses on the warm hill date from the 17th century. They are often ornamented with the chalice rayed with light, the 7-branched candlestick, the sun, and the moon. Usually the arms are not squared, but are rounded ornately. The crosses of today are often made of white wood with the design and inscription in black. Sounding stranger and stranger, right? It says, everywhere in this country you feel yourself touching hands with remote and shadowy figures, half guessed at through the mists of time. That strange round dimple in the stone on the floor of the porch is a symbol which is found in the dolmens of Brittany, on the pyramids of Egypt, in India and China, a symbol which has outlasted empires. What does it mean? Eternity? Time? The sun? Who knows? Let's keep going. All right, so I want to share some symbols with you from this book called Frequently Asked Questions About Basque Symbols. And you see their flag here. It's called the Ekurina. It says the white cross is placed over the other elements as a representation of the transcendental superiority of the divine over the mundane. Nevertheless, the more popular interpretation that ended up being given to the Ekurina is that the red background represents the Basque people. Now just think about that for a minute. The red color is representative of the people. Where have we heard that one before? Let's keep going. We have the picture here of the flag again with their shield. It says, at first, the Ekurina was meant to be the flag only for Biscay. As Sabina Arana was inspired by the emblem this territory already had, its shield, and its interpretation of it. The red background is considered to be a translation of the shield, since for Sabina Arana it wasn't supposed to be argent, but rather gules, or red. Some interesting stuff. So as I said, no one seems to know the origins of these people or their language. That's why I'm calling them the mystery people. So in the next session, I want to tell you about some iconic people in history who are associated with them. And that session will be uploaded shortly, so be on the lookout for it. I'd love to know what you think about the information I just shared with you. Okay, everyone. Shalom.